Welcome to the town hall. Thank you so very much for joining us this evening. We have a wonderful guest. This is going to be an enlightening broadcast. We're going to learn about our artistic side. We're going to learn about business, being an entrepreneur, being creative. Tell your friends about this. If you happen to be watching on Facebook or YouTube, feel free to make some comments. We'd be happy to address as many as we can. Feel free to, tell us what you're thinking. If you have a question for our guest, feel free to ask as well. Let me tell you a little bit about Stephanie. Stephanie and I actually met as a result of Evan Carmichael. I don't know if you've heard of Evan Carmichael. Many have. He has about 2 million subscribers on YouTube. He is one of the most viewed channels on YouTube. Now, I've been following him for a couple years, and he has a group, and it's called the Movement Makers, and it's all about becoming successful. It's about doing whatever it takes and learning all the tricks that he knows so that you can become a YouTube phenom just like he is. How awesome would that be? I mean, he gets hundreds of thousands of views literally a day. So needless to say, we were in this group. We are learning so very much about how to be a top YouTube producer, putting out quality content, and becoming the best person we can be. And it's all really about helping people. That's what it's about, helping others to be able to become the best person they can be. Well, as a result, he teamed us up in this group, and we met each other. Stephanie and I met in that group. I've met several fantastic people, as a matter of fact, in that group. Learned so much. It's an incredible thing. If you are interested, reach out to Evan Carmichael. I highly recommend it. Now, so Stephanie is actually a yogi. She's a mother. She's a pilot as well, a Chicagoan, 50-something woman, and a sailor, a poet, and a rebel. We're going to talk about that. Who happens to make designer handbags. She's an entrepreneur, and she looks for the good in everything. One day she stumbled upon some leather, and she fell in love with the leather. And until the birth of her son, she had never imagined herself as being an artistic person. Now, she's written in journals and danced in mirrors and sang throughout her childhood, but that was to entertain herself. Watching and listening and reading with delight, whatever her untamable spirit created gave Stephanie her first wings. It was in a way for her to escape from the moment, from what was going on, and into an infinite like space with endless possibility where time stood still for her. What should have prompted her into the arts? She fell silently as she tried unsuccessfully, like a square peg into a round hole. So she didn't become artistic at that time, but through the years of parenting, market crash, closing her first business, starting another business, submerging herself in teaching yoga. We're going to be talking about yoga. And she shifted her desire not to be defined by just one simple label. Currently, she's working by making handbags and being creative and striving to help people. She's a business coach as well. We've talked. It's going to be exciting. Like I said, feel free if you've got some comments, listen in. Don't go anywhere because you're going to miss something really important. So let's, without further ado, bring in Stephanie. Well, good evening, Stephanie.
Hi, Stephen. So nice of you to have me.
We are so glad that you are here with us this evening. Thank you so very much for joining us all the way from Arizona.
Yes, I am on vacation. I literally came to Arizona to be with a girlfriend whose father passed away. So I came to see her, and then we decided to extend our trip and just, spend a little bit of time doing yoga and just hiking and, getting down to foundationally like a place where it feels good to be out.
Yes, absolutely. Are you I'm trying to think of the name of a place out there in Arizona that's really spiritual, and I'm trying to think of the darn name of it. Huh?
Sedona?
Sedona. Correct. Thanks for helping me with that. You going to Sedona?
We're not. Well, no, we're not going this trip. We had tried to plan to go a couple of days earlier, but we
Right,
decided not to put too much into one little get together.
right.
Beautiful, magical though. Have you been to Sedona?
I have not personally been to Sedona. My uncle used to work out there. He was in the golf business. He owned the pro shop there in Sedona. But I
Yeah,
would really love to go. It's a vortex, I hear.
it's absolutely. I know I would love to go and just go back. I haven't been in a number of years. I've been twice to Sedona, and each time it was definitely almost like leaving the planet. I mean, it felt like I'd landed someplace like on the moon or something. Just so different. I love it. Love it. So.
Yes, well, in not the best circumstances, but I'm sure your friend is so glad for you to be out there for sure.
Yeah, no, it's a process. It's a part of life, right? We are needing to be there for each other, to encourage each other through things that get a little tougher, and so it's just kind of where we are in our life. And at this age, it's good to have really good friends.
Yes, it is, and it's hard to have and find good friends. If we have even one, I think we're a lucky person.
Yeah, it's funny because I was talking to my girlfriend Kathy about this today, and I was saying, she was like, everyone calls you, like you're the first call for everyone when something goes wrong or when something's happening. And I was like, yes, that actually is true. I happen to be, I think, a lot of people's best friends. So I have like a lot of best friends. But I told her, I said, you're my first call. So for me to
That's a
in my corner is really just incredible. So obviously I'm here for her as she is.
Well, I know the first time that I talked to you, it was really awesome. I mean, we really connected, and I just have to again, shameless shout out to Evan Carmichael for that because that was so awesome, and that Believe team connecting us together. I was very impressed by talking to you, and you ended up giving me some advice as well, and advice that I followed through on, as a matter of fact. I know, but we're
I'm
going to
so
be. Go ahead.
can't wait to hear about it. So, did you do the 503C?
Oh
Did you?
yes, that's done. That's what you said. Get it done. I mean, I've been talking about doing the 501c3, which will qualify us as a tax exempt foundation, so that when people donate, that they'll be able to take a tax deduction. I'm very excited about that. It's been submitted for a little while now. We're just anxiously waiting for the IRS to say, "Yeah, here we go."
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a process, but it's a lot. I mean, it's the paperwork can be like intimidating because there's just so many steps to take. So
Yeah.
proud of you. Yeah, that's awesome. Good for you. Well, good luck with
Well, thank you. Thank you. We're excited, and that's going to make a difference, I think, for a lot of the people that might consider to donate. Of course, we are a nonprofit foundation. I've been financing it myself. We've got a couple sponsors now, so we're excited about that. I'm just really, really pleased with where we're going. We've opened up a new life referral center. We're trying to help people get to resources based on the fact that they might need recovery help, mental health counseling, this type of thing. Yeah, the homeless, we can help them with food and clothing and all kinds of great stuff. And so that's so exciting, but we're not here really to talk about that. We're here to talk about you. You're such a dynamic person.
well, thank you.
tell
That
us,
was thanks so
tell
much.
us a little bit about yourself. Tell us about when you were younger. So you had quite an imagination, which as kids we tend to have an imagination, but you put it to use.
Yeah, it's funny because when I look back at the things that I've written recently about sort of, trying to come up with my bio, that's what I was doing for you, right? I had to
Yeah.
write about myself, and it's so hard. But it is interesting when I look back at stories and I think, God, did I do that? Really? Like, it feels like I've lived a couple of lifetimes, honestly. But as a child, I think I had this imagination that I could probably do and be anything that I wanted to do and be, but I didn't know what that was. So it was almost like when people would say, what do you want to be when you grow up? It's that continuing recurring thing that I still have to go, what do I really want to be? So I still uncertain on that note. And I think that's because there's not really one thing that I can say will define who I am for, an extended period of time, it doesn't mean that I won't always be a woman. I won't always be a mother, hopefully. But I don't know that I'm super married to any of the labels that I have. And so as a child, I guess I did get that. I got the idea that I could really kind of just make it up as I went along. And that's definitely what I've been doing with, starting out not on the straight and narrow. I started out wanting to go to the University of Minnesota, and I had taken some courses there prior to graduating from high school. And so I walked in with my my application, and I hand walked it into the university, dropped it off. But unfortunately, I forgot to get it stamped. And so I didn't get into the university that I thought I was going to go to. And it just started me on this trajectory of sort of like, realizing that the path that I had planned for myself really wasn't going to happen. And so when that happens, I tend to just sort of go intuitively in the direction of what it is that I'm feeling in that moment. And so I've kind of bounced around a bit, with, not going to the college I wanted to. So then I really ended up not going to college full time. I did go to college, and I've got enough, credit to have a degree, but it's all over the place in like physics and mathematics and history and literature. So at any rate, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do with my life, Stephen.
Well, it seems like you're doing a lot. And it seems like with, and I wanted to talk about that, was certainly with COVID, that gave you an opportunity for a little bit of a reset, didn't it?
Yes, it did. So I had decided last year in 2019, after traveling the entire year, I think I traveled just under 2 times around the earth to shows. And I did 30 shows as a handbag designer, right? So that's what I've been doing for a number of years now. And so I ended up wearing myself out. By October, I was just tired. And by the time I got a chance to take a break, I got sick, and it allowed my body to actually respond in the way that it probably was wanting to respond. And I started, for 2 weeks, I was in my bed, literally with the flu. And I went online and I started selling my handbags online. And I thought, I'm doing this all wrong. So in that month of October, I ended up being home for 2 weeks, but was making, as much money as I would have been making on the road. So I thought, I got to do this differently. So I had intended to do things differently in February of 2020. I ended the lease on my studio space. All of my part-time production assistants, they got new internships or new jobs. And so my last payroll was March 13th. And on March 16th, we went into, the sort of lockdown, whatever you might want to call it. And so it coincided.
Sounds a good word.
Yes, exactly. It coincided with my plan, and that, I was grateful for the fact that I didn't have these, employees to concern myself with or worry about paying. And all of my shows were canceled. So I had 2 shows in the beginning of the year, and all of them have been canceled or have been created into a virtual reality. So I've had to pivot and shift and, take this time to do a lot of things. And what ended up happening on, right around that March 16th time is I realized that there were a lot of people out there, a lot of women, a lot of single mothers like me that were not able to put food on the table. And I was worried about them. I was worried about my artist friends, the people that I travel and do all these shows with, who I call my circus family, because it literally is like flying into a town, setting up it like a circus, and then you take it down. It sounds like the circus. And so I was concerned about them and how they were going to navigate this new world of needing to go online. And so I decided that I was going to help people each day, Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. and just designate, setting aside a time to serve others, because I figured, I don't really know what's happening here. I don't really know what to do, but I do know that. And so in doing that, I found my purpose.
Did you, are you doing the Instagram stories then? Or yes?
Yeah, I'm doing Instagram lives. I've started doing Facebook Live. I am transitioning some of that to YouTube, so I haven't gone that extra step. But yes, I've been doing coaching on Zoom, and I've been doing courses. I've started creating courses for artists because what started out as being Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. started getting booked up. And so I've started doing group classes instead. So it's shifted a bit.
That's really, really cool. And then see, that's one of the things that we learned from Evan Carmichael in the Movement Makers was about learning how to become, well, find your purpose, of course, and then define your reasons for doing this, and then going out and helping people and being a coach if that's what you are. And so he pushed us and pushed us, and so you're doing it too, and that's so awesome. I'm so proud of you.
Yeah, so I had started taking different courses back in March. So for the first 6 months of the past 9, I took over 1,000 pages of notes.
Wow.
And what I did is I decided to place myself in the proximity of powerful people who were doing something that foundationally was going to help the world. And I decided this after figuring out what my purpose was. So I had come to the conclusion that my purpose is to inspire people with kindness and to add value to people's lives. It's to teach what I know about manifesting a life full of abundance and joy, and how to cultivate the courage it takes to do that, how to get out of our own way, and how to inspire people beyond inspiration into transformation. So I had decided that and figured that out. And then I found Evan. So I haven't necessarily read all the books, but we're all saying the same thing, Stephen. We're all talking the same language. It's really easy to see and feel. And that's what we had in that connection when we had our first phone call and Zoom. It was just like, oh my God, what are we supposed to do together? There's something that needs to be done, and we're going to accomplish that.
And we are, and together we shine that bright light, because it is all about helping people. And it is about sharing the things that we know with others to help them be able to become a better person. And yes, we definitely connected because, of course, we're on that same wavelength, or in that, as they say, flow of that thinking. And so then the law of attraction takes place, and that's kind of why I think that we connected.
Absolutely. So there's this, I've started to really think about frequency a lot and how we are energetic beings. And I've always sort of played with the idea of quantum physics being my hobby, kind of a strange hobby to have. And I know most people don't really get that, but I've just, always marveled at, like kind of the how of things, not necessarily the how as much as maybe the why, or, just contemplating why things happen the way that they do. And so what I've come to the conclusion of is that as energetic beings, that is what we are foundationally, and that is never ending. So whatever that is, this human form that we're in temporarily, I feel like there's so many ways to permeate the boundaries of our existence and to affect change. And I say that because being in this realm and vibrating on this higher frequency, I guess, we do attract people and things to us and opportunities when we're there. And then when we're at a higher level, the things that are like negative or vibrating at a lower level, they just pass by us. I've met someone recently who has come to me almost like out of a dream, who is now a mentor and is working with me, but he has an organization called Affect Change with an A. And his whole purpose is to, like Evan Carmichael, is to do a lot for a small amount of people, but to always be helpful and help people move forward, to take the gifts that he has and to help the world, just like Evan is doing, just like you and I are trying to do. And I don't even know how he ended up in my corner, but he's helping 3 companies right now, and he's created multi-million-dollar companies, I think 4, and he's got influence. He's just an amazing human being, and he had this program on Amazon called the Santa Claus Effect, and he's picked me to conversate with. He's on the phone with me daily. He says, I'm like 7-Eleven. I'm here whenever you need me. But he's just trying to guide me in helping me to get my business the growth that it needs in the moment. So what I've been doing for people, he's now doing for me. And it's just, I think that vibrational, putting out into the world what you want and love, and then getting it back in reciprocation. So it's really amazing.
Well, it is a situation, I believe firmly, that what you give, you receive too. It's not that we give to receive, but it's that we give, and as a result of that,
Yeah.
it comes back. I mean, for me, it is a mind blower for me, where I started out homeless 10 years ago. And today I've got two companies that are both nonprofits. It's a mind blower. And I learned so much from Evan. And so, yeah, Evan, you get the glory here. We'll make sure to share this into the movement makers and let
Yes.
him know how much he positively impacts people's lives in such a positive manner. Now, that last book, by the way, folks, is Built to Serve. It's about finding that purpose and why we're serving the communities the way that we are. I want to remind everybody, too, if you've got questions or you have comments, and I see there's a bunch of comments, we certainly appreciate that from our Facebook viewers. If you have a comment for Stephanie or a question for Stephanie, please feel free to go ahead and ask that, and I'll make sure that I try and get that for you. Okay. Um, so I have some questions. Now, you're a yogi. I want you to tell the viewers about yoga, and I want you to tell us about how that makes an impact in your life and how that helps you with your business.
So, when we speak about yoga, traditionally people think of asanas, they think of the postures, the movement, the actual exercise, but, which I love. Um, I feel like it's so much more. So it's difficult to like really explain yoga in a really simplistic manner. But for me, yoga is just about sort of taking where I'm at in the moment and getting to the next moment. So it's about just being open and receptive to sort of what I'm feeling, practicing my managing my emotions, and finding my breath and using that. So it helps me in my business tremendously. It helps me in dealing with difficult situations, whatever that might be, whether it's landing in a city and realizing that the 4 bags and the 3 packages and the 2 boxes that I shipped there and brought with me on the plane and sent through messenger are, some of them have arrived, but not all of them. Figuring out how to put the pieces together and maintaining like a calm, a sense of just really being able to manage it and navigate the things that life throws at me. So my yoga definitely helps with that.
So for those that don't even know about yoga, this is like meditation, is it not? But it's an awareness type of meditation.
Absolutely. Yeah. So with breath. So if we come to our breath, I think it's just like one of the easiest ways. So I mean, if you want to take a deep breath with me right now. So if we just do this for like, let's just take 3 deep breaths together.
Yeah.
Okay, so fill up to the top and then exhale through the mouth to the sound of ha. Deep breath in.
Yes.
And exhale.
Yes.
One more like that. Deep breath in. And exhale, let something go. So if the viewers at home did that with us, it's the simplest thing you can do, but that is yoga. That's a moving meditation. That's a breath work. It's pranayama. It's just, it's our life force, right? So paying attention to some of the things that we don't generally pay attention to, like paying attention to what we pay attention to, I think is really important.
Right. Well, I
Really,
know that I've done breathing. It's just straight breathing meditations before, and just becoming aware of that breath. And, immediately it releases those neurotoxins or neurochemicals, serotonin, and you feel
yeah,
better like immediately. So
immediately.
cool.
I know, 3 breaths, right?
I know.
So it's all kinds of fun things. Like I'm up for it all. I'm like that. I don't generally go to the doctor. I'll go like occasionally, like if I have to go, but I am tapping or I'm doing
Mhm.
or I'm meditating and I'm
Right.
trying to find natural ways to heal myself through foods and holistic efforts. So
Well, I know that for myself, I've really taken a lot of concern about my health because our health is important to us. Because if we're healthy, then we're going to be able to be better for others as well. And so, I've went on a diet. I lost a bunch of weight, as a matter of fact. That really helped. And still just started eating better, because we've got to take care of ourselves, don't we?
Yes, we do, and I love it. I can't remember, and I don't know who actually originally said this, but we should treat ourselves as a luxury vehicle and not a rental car. This is an instrument, right? And so taking care of us foundationally, just getting centered and finding balance, I think is so important. Something that I'm definitely grateful for, with even given the situation that we're in this moment, in this crisis. It's just been sort of life renewing for me to find balance and get centered.
Well, you do journaling and you started writing when you were young. Tell us about journaling because that's like a part of your routine, is it not?
It is. So I've journaled since I was a kid, and when I started journaling and I started writing poetry when I was probably 6 or 7 years old, I realized immediately that if I had an issue that I was thinking through in my head and I couldn't come up with a solution, if I wrote about it, it would come out on paper. And so I used it as sort of like a self-help sort of process to like figure out my issues. When anything that was concerning me, if I wrote about it, it became smaller and less significant. And so I've continued to do that over the years, but in the past 9 months, I've started a different sort of ritual, which is making sure that I always have my journal near my bed. And I've found that a lot of the really important life decisions that I've made or discoveries that I've come to generally tend to come in the morning for me. So waking up and having the ability to journal is really like amazing to me. So I've come up with a lot of things. In fact, I have a journal in front of me right now. I've got a couple always going.
I
Um,
think journal is important. I think you've got me beat on the notes thing. You got 1,000 notes this year. But wow, pages. Oh my gosh. I mean,
yeah,
I do write a lot. I've always enjoyed writing, and it is a way to express and work through some stuff as well. Um, and in a way, these days it's pretty easy then to take that maybe and even publish it and share your story with others.
yes, absolutely. So with the journaling, what I have started to decide that will happen at some point is I would love to write a book, because I've definitely got a book's worth in me, if not a few.
Oh,
So
yes.
yeah.
Yes. You've done a whole lot of stuff. You call yourself a rebel. Why do you call yourself a rebel, Stephanie?
Well, the idea to come up with the name for my business just kind of, it came naturally, and when I figured it out, I was like, it's who I've been. It's like it said, sort of foundationally speaks to the person that I've always been, that I didn't really know how to express fully, or how to accept and embrace fully either. I guess I sort of felt a little bit like a black sheep, and then I realized that really I've always just been a golden sheep. Just taking my own path hasn't meant that I wasn't on the right path. I just wasn't on the path that everyone else was on. So being able to see that clearly now just makes me feel like, well, that's my rebellion, and it always has been. Now
That's awesome.
when I talk about it, when I make decisions, I go, well, I'm rebellion. Like that is who I am. That's why I made that decision. Of course, I'm going to make that decision.
And we're
So
going to talk about that because that is the name of your handbag company. We're going to go to a quick commercial break. We're going to appreciate our sponsors who make all this possible. We certainly appreciate them. Total Coatings here in Sarasota, Manatee, and Charlotte counties. They can help you with a porcelain reglaze of your bathtub or your tile, your shower. It is non-toxic porcelain glaze. It's like no others. It's also, like I said, ISO 9000 that makes it safe and non-toxic. And it saves people a ton of money, thousands of dollars over replacement. So let's just hear from them.
We let our bathtub go too long. It had rust in it. It had deep pitting in it. There were chips. I, quite frankly, thought it was unrepairable.
Total Coatings is a family-owned and operated bathtub and shower refinishing company. We've been around since 2006, but we use a exclusive non-toxic porcelain coating that was developed over 60 years ago by a franchise in California. So the product is very well established. We refinish bathtubs, showers, wall tile, countertops, and even sinks. Customers want to know what makes our product different, and that's, of course, the exclusive non-toxic porcelain. We also don't acid etch the surface, so you don't have to leave your home because of noxious fumes.
I was completely and utterly shocked. It looked like a brand new bathtub. I would recommend Total Coatings to anybody.
Thank you, Total Coatings. We appreciate your support. We also want to shout out Cool Today. Cool Today has all of your needs met when it comes to plumbing or heating, as well as your electrical needs. They're here in Sarasota. They're all the way from up in Tampa, all the way down to Naples. Call Cool Today. We've got the website there, and they can help you out. We appreciate our sponsors. If you'd like to sponsor this program, you can certainly reach out to us. We'd be happy to chat with you about that. This broadcast is streaming to Roku, Amazon, Apple, and Android TV. If you have a smart TV, you can download the E360 TV application and watch it on that smart TV. How fun is that? Great. We appreciate you tonight. I tell you, Stephanie, you've got a great story. You're an entrepreneur, you're a business coach. Let's start with the business coach aspect of it. Is that something that evolved with the movement makers, or is that something that you've been doing for a while now?
That's something, thank you, great question. No, that's something that I started when the pandemic started. I just did it because I figured, I've got all of these people that I've done all these shows with, and I'm worried that they don't know how to create an email blast. And I'm worried that they're not going to know how to transform their business from in-person to online. And because it was something that I was doing, I wanted to just simply teach people what I was learning in the moment. And so I picked up the phone and started doing these calls and started doing these Zoom meetings, and just started sharing what it was that I was doing, what I was putting into practice, and all the things I had learned. Some of the things I was teaching, which I'd learned before I had actually even applied the things. And it was people were coming back and saying, I made, I had a sale this weekend and I made $4,000, or, and I haven't made any money the whole month, whatever it was. So it was just immediate feedback, complete gratitude, and things that worked. So I figured, why not? It's just, for me, I'm doing it as a service. That's my way of serving people. I'm not doing it for profit. It's just a way for me to give back and to help people move forward in this crisis. So
that's so awesome.
Yeah, thanks.
Isn't it the greatest feeling when you help somebody and you're doing it and it's for free, and Evan does so much of that too. It's just incredible.
Yes, I think, there was something that I had heard from Jesse Itzler, one of my mentors as well. He said that, right now is a really great time to be a good human. And I loved that. And I feel like, everyone can do something for someone. There's something everyone can do, and we should all be doing something.
Yeah. Well, our communities need us right now. I tell you, the world has changed on us. There's so much uncertainty going on, and now is an opportunity, even though COVID's got its bad aspects to it, clearly, because people are dying, is that it does give us the opportunity to do like you did, reset, rethink, and maybe do something that we had been putting off for so long.
Yeah.
Clearly what you've done.
Yes. Well, I think that crisis brings us to that rank, that moment, and understanding that, hey, something's got to change here. So we're forced out of our comfort zone. There's so many stories in my life where I can see where the crisis has created the amazing thing that's happened. So my son being born, he was just like the most amazing light. I call him my Stardust baby. He was when he was born, I was suddenly single and I had to kind of figure out what the heck I was going to do. And I had just finished my commercial pilot's ratings. And I realized, right away that I wasn't going to be able to leave my son with someone else and end up in a different city, maybe with a malfunction of, some of the mechanics and not be able to get home. So I had to come up with something to do. And that's when my business came as a dream, literally. And I woke up and I was like, okay, that's something I can do. And all of this to say that, you just really don't know what's going to be in front of you and how to handle it. But crisis for me helped me to get really super creative, and it was called necessity. So people would say, oh my God, you're so creative. And I'd say, never thought I was. Like, I never would have said I'm a creative person other than writing. But, we do get creative when, push comes to shove. We just kind of have to.
Yeah, creative thinking. When you say that, I think about Dr. Sophie Nubani. We've had her on the show several times, and she just did this book, Optimize Your Creative Mindset, and it is all about imagination. And getting creative is an opportunity to be able to really do some dynamic things. Now, you have done that. You have a company, a Rebellion, and you fell in love with leather.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I did. Well, so I've always loved leather. It's something that I've always been drawn to. And, I didn't know how to be a designer. I didn't know how to design anything, but I knew what good looked like. So I could see good and say, that's good. So that's really my challenge. But I've learned over the course of the last, well, it's now, 15 years since I made my first handbag and had that first dream that night. But I've learned how to actually manipulate it and just, how to create from it. So I've gotten to the part where it's art, and it's taken me a number of years. And, when this whole thing happened with the crisis, I thought, it's really time for me to step into that place of being that expert that I am now, having been in business as long as I've been, and to help and guide and lead people. Because, I was listening to like kind of people, what they were thinking and saying, and it was more or less along the lines of, who's going to come and save me in this moment? What is going to happen in the world that is going to, remove this issue for me? And I realized that I couldn't be in that boat. I needed to figure out how to help people move beyond what it was that they were experiencing in the moment, whether that was not having any income, whether that was just trying to figure out how to navigate this really scary time, and to do it with the feeling that we were going to get through this and get to the other side of it, and that it was going to be a learning lesson, something that we could sort of embrace if we were courageous enough to challenge the boundary of what it is that we don't know, and just to push through it and figure out something new for ourselves. So I wanted to show that, and I wanted to use my experience of doing that to say, I can do this. And when I sat and I thought about, like, well, why would I want to put myself in that position? And I thought about the things that I had done, and I thought, well, I've done all that other stuff, like this, does COVID even know what I've been through? Like, I will get through this. This is going to be nothing. And it has not been nothing. I'm not trying to minimize it at all, but I do believe that it takes a certain courage that we all have inside of us. And I think we need to find that to move through this sort of situation, in any situation like this.
Well, you stepped into your fear, and when we step into fear, we can learn something, can't we?
Yes, absolutely. I have a fun story for you, Stephen, if you want to hear this. I don't know if you have any questions for me about being a pilot. So I may be.
Oh, I did. I just said no.
I'll let you
want to know. You're a pilot. That's so
I'm
cool.
sorry, you said it too. I'll let you ask the question, and then I'll go to the story.
So you're a pilot. What inspired you to become a pilot?
So I had never thought about being a pilot. until there was a news story, 20 some years ago, and it was about a student pilot, and they were with their instructor, and then there was another small plane, and there was a mid-air collision in Chicago. And what ended up happening was, they perished, and it was horrible. And I thought, oh my God, I felt horrible for it. It was a teenager, and I thought that's incredibly sad. And then I thought, I had no idea that people could even learn how to fly. Like, people can get in a plane and learn. And so I called up the airport and I said, where do I go to learn how to fly? And so I found a flight school, and I started my first flight lesson. And my issue was that I was afraid. I was fearful of flying. It didn't stop me. I had flown all of my life. I think the first time I flew, I was 11 days old. My mother took me on a plane from San Francisco back home to where she was from. And so, I've flown my entire life, and I'd never thought about flying professionally, but I got in that cockpit and I felt more alive than I'd ever felt. And I felt like, the sky really is the limit. And just putting myself in that position. And I was fearful for, I think it took me probably 10 months to get my private pilot's license. But every time I would get in the car to drive to the airport, I would try and talk myself out of it because I was afraid. But I faced it, and then before I knew it, I felt confident. I felt comfortable in the plane, and then I just continued. And I got to the private pilot license, and I thought, okay, I did it. And then to myself, I thought, well, maybe I'll get a job as a corporate flight attendant. Then I can fly internationally, and I can sit in the cockpit, and I can log hours on international flights. And I told my flight instructor, and he was like 21 years old or something crazy like that. And he'd been flying since he was 10. With his dad. And he said to me, Steph, why wouldn't you just become a commercial pilot? And so I still hadn't seen myself as the commercial pilot because I'd never seen a female commercial pilot. And so I said, okay, I'll do that instead. So I moved into the next stage of it, and one piece at a time, put together the ratings and became a commercial pilot, multi-engine with instrument ratings.
Wow, that is really cool. And I wanted to go back here into your bio because I can see clearly flying was in your thinking, watching, listening, and reading with delight. Whatever her untamable spirit created gave Stephanie her first wings.
Yes, absolutely. And then my
so
grandfather,
cool.
My grandfather, whom I'd never met, was a fighter pilot in World War II. And so, it's in my DNA. I'm certain of that. And it didn't even occur to me until after I'd become a commercial pilot that's right. My grandfather that I never met actually was a commercial pilot, or was a fighter pilot.
Wow. And there's just, like you say, I can't recall, and I used to fly a lot. I was a frequent flyer at one point in time, back when I was in the healthcare industry. But I'll tell you, I don't recall seeing any women pilots.
Yeah.
It didn't happen.
Yeah. And so what I did is I went to Oshkosh, and I bought this book, and it was Women and Flight. And so I researched and read about all of the women who had come before me who had been flight instructors back during World War II, who literally weren't able to fly, in the war, but they would transport the planes, and how they would instruct the pilots. And then as I was, actually in my training, the men that I trained with, that I was, learning with, it was really interesting because they had all had some sort of female instructor at some point. So there were all touch points with women, but at the time, there was not a female African-American captain of an airline. And I thought, well, I'll be that then. That's what I'll be. I'll be the first. And so I didn't become the first, but it was my goal. It was kind of just somebody's got to do it. So now they're yeah.
Truly, you're such an inspiration. You really are. to step out there and do things that a lot of other people might just say, no, I can't do it. So you didn't let your own thinking stand in your way.
Yeah, no, I didn't let myself stand in my way. And that's again going back to sort of what we were discussing earlier about the whole like finding the courage it takes to cultivate the life that we love. And we all have that ability. And it's not just me, and it's not just you, and it's not just people who, step into the position and arrive sort of at a place where people can see that they've accomplished things. But it's each of us have something inside of us that we are better at than anybody else. And so what that is always going to be is we're going to be best at being who we truly are. So when we step completely into who we are, we're able to find whatever it is that we're good at. And for me, it just happens to be a lot of different things. And I've always kind of just felt like, well, and I say this to my son all the time, I'm like, you'll be good at anything you do. Just whatever you do, be good at it. And I tell him this all the time. But I think it's really a matter of facing my fears. And this is the story I wanted to tell you about sort of flexing my courage muscle, or actually realizing that it is a muscle, that it's something that can be trained. I recognized my courage in a crisis where I was at an I was in a flight. I was with my flight instructor, and we were flying into a very small airport in a very big airspace with a twin engine plane that I only had 10 hours in. And we were coming into land, and the warning light came on and signaled that our landing gear was malfunctioning. And so in a moment's notice, we had to make a decision. And we had a very short runway. We had power lines at the end, and we had a heavy plane. We did not have room for a go around. And I recognized this, and immediately, even though I only had maybe 10 hours in this plane at the time, and he had 1,500 hours, I did not give the plane over to him. I continued to manage the airplane, and it was just like an instinct that kicked in. And I did all of the stuff that you do in an emergency. I turned off the fuel selectors. I turned off all of the stuff. And I held onto that plane. And when that landing gear malfunctioned, it was the right gear that was not enabled completely, and our right wing dipped down into the ground and spun us around. Stop. And I was waiting for the flames to come, Steve. And I was thinking, okay, I've got the fuel selectors off, but these are, we've got fuel in here and a lot. I'm waiting for them to come, and then we're just going to run out of the airplane through the flames and roll on the ground. This is what I'm thinking in my head, literally. And they don't come. And I'm like, so we still jump out of the plane and run. And we've got helicopters, and we're in Class C airspace. So we've got O'Hare above us. So we shut down the entire O'Hare airspace.
Okay.
And I thought, oh my God, I did it. Like I stepped up when I needed to. I showed up when I needed to. So that muscle is something that I can't forget, right? I can't forget to use that in everything that I do.
Yes. I mean, even when we step into our fears, we might still feel that fear, but I think it's an important factor to experience that. And that it makes it then maybe easier because you did not buckle under pressure. That's what happened.
Yeah. And so I didn't know that. And I wouldn't have known that I have that sort of courage had it not been tested. And so that's what I think that happens with people who look and think, oh, that's something that you could do that I can't do, is that they're underestimating their own ability to actually step up and into the position of making the decision and having the courage if they're not faced with that obstacle first, right? So It was an obstacle that allowed me to find that courage.
Very, very cool. Yeah. I'm just blessed to be able to know you, Stephanie. It's so awesome. And you're sharing such great wisdom with our viewers tonight. It's so cool.
Thank you.
And you're artistic. I'm artistic as well in my day job. But we want to talk about that too, because we've talked about creative thinking. We've talked about courage and stepping into fear, doing things when, we could easily just say no. but taking that chance. But the artistic aspect of it is really super important, and you like working with your hands clearly. Where did that start? Was that when you were young that you started like to make things?
No, so that's the thing. I didn't make anything artistic until I had the dream. And so I literally, well, I didn't make anything with leather until I had the dream. I started out making money clips for women, and it was more or less I sat down. I had my son was turning 1, and
Mhm.
I was running out of money, and I thought, okay, I've got to figure out something here. And I couldn't bring myself to put him in daycare, and I couldn't bring myself to leave and start flying. And so I decided that I would instead, have to figure something out. So I sat down, began journaling each night, or, however many nights a week. I set out a very specific schedule and said, these are the times I'm going to sit down after he goes to bed, and I'm going to spend hours figuring out all of the things that need to be met for me to be able to raise him, to get him through college, that I can travel with, that I can do from anywhere. And so I came up with this idea to make things for women to help them hold on to their money. So the first thing, and the reason I thought of that was because I had wished that I had held on to mine. I'd wished I had more. I had wished that I had saved more and that I had more time to just be at home with my son before I had to make that decision. And so that was the resounding thought. And so I came up with this idea for a money clip for women. And I made one with crystals, and I glued on these crystals. I used this epoxy glue that was used in airplanes. And I thought, well, can hold airplanes together and they're flexible and movable, then it'll work for money clips. And I wanted something that was going to be beautiful, but that women could carry. And I wanted to be able to carry my son on my hip around with me while I sold them. So I came up with this idea and it worked. So it was the kind of thing that I went into boutiques here in Arizona is actually where I created it. And I was living here at the time because I lived here for 4 years when my son, from the time right before he was born until he was just about 4. And so I went to 25 boutiques in 2 days. I started at the high-end boutiques, and I walked in and I said, hi, my name is Stephanie Wheat, and I'm a designer. I just made this up, right? I made these little business cards that had money clips on them, and I glued crystals onto them, and I brought my things in, and I showed them what I had, and I said, I think these are great. Women are going to love them. And every single boutique owner said to me, they're beautiful, but women don't carry money clips. And I was like, you're right, they don't, but they will. And so 12 of the boutiques gave me a chance and bought my things. And I sold, I think 600 money clips that first year was enough to keep my son at home with me. And then I just started making more things. And so that was in 2003. So we're in 2020. My business has been something that has sustained me and my son since then. And it has become now a full-time thing. It's gotten to the place where I like to say I've gotten to the part where it's art. And we were just, I'd never imagined myself being a handbag designer. I'd never just imagined myself being creative in the artistic way other than writing. And we just, I've had like the most humbling experiences with being able to say that the late Kate Spade was one of my customers and bought my handbag personally for her. And then I had the just lovely invitation to go to Paris Fashion Week and Design Week this past year, which, I'll go next year.
Very cool. You've done some big things. I'd like you to, we've got a couple minutes here left. I'd like you to tell if there was a woman out there and she was thinking about trying to get involved in her own business. She wants to become an entrepreneur. She's going to get creative. What advice would you give to our viewers that want to become their own boss?
I would say figure out what that thing is and just make sure that it's something that you love. Like have a passion for it. So whatever you're passionate about, find that thing that makes sense and then just do it. There are so many reasons and so many people and so many things that'll go through your head and that other people will even say that will deter you from taking that first step. There's so many reasons that people come up with for not doing what they love because they're afraid that they might fail. But, if you're afraid, you're going to fail, then you've already failed. If you don't take the step because you're afraid of it. And that whole idea of fear, Stephen, that we were talking about, I think there's a way to transform that from fear into excitement, because it's the same feeling. And I think when we take away the fear label and we just say, instead of saying I'm afraid, like I'm getting ready to come on this broadcast and I feel a little nervous, I just go, oh my God, I'm so excited to be here. I'm not afraid, like just replacing those words with something that's more positive and just taking the first step, doing the smallest of movement towards your goal each day, even if it's just like picking up the phone and calling and asking that question and following your intuition. So that was a lot of different things that I just said.
That's awesome. That's great advice. We've got your websites running across the bottom here. Feel free to reach out to Stephanie. She'd be happy to help you. She can help you with your business. She can give you some advice. She's, I think also, she doesn't claim to be, but I think a spiritual leader as well, a yoga instructor, and wow, super dynamic. So feel free to reach out to her at www.joyrebellion.us or rebellionbags.com. You can send her an email. We certainly appreciate everybody that is joining us. Want to just put this up quick. Fear is false evidence appearing real. Step
Yes,
into your fears,
absolutely, Kim. That is so
Thank you
true.
so very
Yeah,
much for that, Kim.
love
We
that.
appreciate that. Denise, we appreciate you. Patricia Jordan joined us as well. She does lots of writing. That's an important thing. We talked about
Love
journaling.
it.
We want to say thank you to all the viewers. Thank you very much, Stephanie. We appreciate you.
Thanks
So,
so much. I appreciate you. It was so awesome. And this hour just flew by. We're going to have to do this
I
again.
know. Let's do it again.
We didn't
Absolutely,
even get to
100%.
we didn't, I know there's so much we didn't even get to. So I am so grateful.
I
Thank
had
you
a
all for
whole
watching.
lot of questions. I know I didn't get to all of them, but that's okay. Thank you so very much. We will bring you back. We want to thank everybody. Everyone have a great day. We've made it to the midweek. Let's get to Friday. Friday, come back and join us. We have Dr. Joanne Sotelo. She also is a movement maker as well. She's learning with Evan Carmichael. We're all learning. We're growing. We're becoming better, and we were built to serve. Hey, thanks for joining us. Take care. God bless y'all, and we'll see you
Bye.
soon. Bye-bye.